Icon is the new for 2018 roller coaster at Blackpool Pleasure Beach in the UK. It is the park's first and only launch coaster. It features 2 launches. The entire ride was built by MACK Rides. You may have ridden something similar at Liseberg with Helix, Europa Park with Blue Fire, or most recently, Carowinds is building Copperhead Strike, which will debut in 2019. These are long rides. They're famous for lots of bank turns, inversions, and they're overall very fun experiences. And Icon is no exception. It is a very long ride, over 3,000 feet of track, max height only 88 feet, so it's very low to the ground, constantly using the land to its advantage, which I'm going to get to that a bit later. Max speed of 53 miles per hour, not super fast, and I'm also going to discuss that a bit later because I do think that Icon would benefit from being a little bit faster, but again, we'll get to that later. There's a single inversion on this ride, and that is with an inline twist. There is an Immelman, however, according to RCDB, it is not technically classified as an inversion, so we can argue about that. I mean, you could say it's an inversion or you could not. RCDB says it isn't, so that's what I'm going off of. But just a few general thoughts before I get into some specifics. This is a great addition to this park. The UK doesn't have anything like it. Blackpool doesn't have anything close to being like it. This is a very modern experience. This park is famous for having a lot of older attractions, and so this one is really different. A lot of people consider this the best coaster in the UK. It is personally not my favorite coaster in the United Kingdom, but it is definitely one of the best. So let's kind of walk through the experience here a bit. Icon is not really themed, but it is stylized. It kind of copies that Japanese look, and so you're going to walk under this arch. The queue line goes right alongside that first launch, so you can watch it take off. You're going to go into the station. It's a nice looking station. I mean, not really from the outside, it's kind of a box, but on the inside, like, it looks fine and everything. Again, stylized, not themed. So you're going to come in, fasten your lap bar. These are comfy restraints. However, if there is a downside, MACK Rides lap bars are kind of famous for coming down further during the ride, so it almost forces you to get stapled by the end. That is kind of one downside. I mean, it may not necessarily be a huge deal because this is not really an airtime focused attraction. There are a few moments, but yeah, it is kind of easy to get stapled on this coaster. So you're going to roll out of the station, come to a stop, and that is when you're going to hit that first launch into the tunnel. Now, anyone who has ridden a MACK Rides launch coaster knows that the launches are not particularly the best. These launches are just not forceful. They're very gradual. You just don't really feel anything. And so that's kind of the shame here. This is not really a forceful ride. And to me, I really do think that comes down to the launch. If the launch were a bit more sudden, launched you a bit faster, I do think some of the moments on this ride, it goes a little bit slow. I mean, in retrospect, it may actually be going at a pretty decent speed, but I think it would be a bit more exhilarating if you took some of these turns a bit faster. Maybe you get a little bit more whip that way. But I'm also not an engineer, so I don't know the logistics on that. But I think if there is a disappointment with this ride, it is that it is not very forceful. The launches are just not the best. So take that for what it is. But you actually go straight up into this giant top hat that goes under Big One. This is great. Again, assuming you're not stapled, you will get some airtime over that. And that top hat takes you down into a drop. You're going to go into some curves. That's pretty much all Icon is lots of twists and turns, which I think is super fun. Again, it's different. So I like it. And anyone who's been to Blackpool Pleasure Beach knows that they are very limited on space. And so what Icon does is it winds in and around different attractions. It gets very close to Steeplechase, obviously Big One of their wooden coasters. And so it's just very creative how they used this layout and came up with a long ride. That's to me what is most amazing about this, is I want to know who was the guy that kind of looked at the aerial view of this park and said, how can we strategically remove some attractions or clear away space so that we can fit in a long ride winding in and around the other attractions. That to me is amazing. So other notable points within that first half, that's when your main inversion is, that inline twist. It's a fun element. You do get a little bit of hang time with that. You go into some very low to the ground twists, and then you go back onto the other side of Big One, the original side that you started off with. And that's when you're going to drop down into the tunnel again and hit your second launch. This is a rolling launch, meaning you are already moving. You don't come to a stop. You just keep accelerating. And I think that the second launch, like I said, is better than the first. I'd also say that this launch is better than Helix's rolling launches. but I mean, not by much. Again, it kind of almost feels like you're gliding on straight track, which is kind of sad in my opinion. But that is when you're going to go into that Immelmann / not Immelmann, may just be a bank turn of some sorts. It looks like an Immelmann to me personally. And from now on, you're going to stay on that one side of big one. Lots of snappy transitions. You don't really get whipped over a ton of them. You can really kind of anticipate them coming. I did get a chance to do this in the front and the back row. I don't remember which one I preferred. I tend to be more of a back row kind of guy. But what I do remember is that I enjoyed it both sides. So definitely do front and the back. And that second half is kind of the longer portion than the first half in my opinion. I don't know if it actually is, but I think it certainly feels that way. So in general, Icon, again, it's a very fun ride. It's very enjoyable. It's re-rideable. I think it'll appeal to a large group of people. That being said, I think there will be some enthusiasts that might be a little underwhelmed with it, mainly because of the forcelessness factor of it. It's not a huge deal, but it does kind of leave much to be desired after you get off and you're like, that was fun, but I see the potential where it could have been great. Icon is good. I wouldn't say it is spectacular. I mean, it's very smooth. It's got a good layout. I don't have any problems with the layout. In my opinion, if I were to fix Icon in some way, I would modify the launches. Even if you were to keep the same launches, I just think if you accelerated up to a faster speed, that may have helped fix some of the problems. But I mean, hey, that's just my take. So for Icon's final score, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It is not my favorite. Definitely the best ride in the park though. It's definitely unique. And so I do think that a lot of people are going to enjoy it. So that's just my take on Icon at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Be sure to post your comments below about what you think of this ride, if you've gotten around to riding it or if you're planning on riding it soon. And of course, stay tuned for more European coaster reviews here at Coaster Studios.